Sunday night, federal election speculate. The minority government's budget faces a final confidence vote.
100% of our MPs opposed the costly Carney credit card budget.
Will it pass or send Canadians back to the files fight? Ahead of a vote on releasing the documents, a prominent Republican turns on
what makes a voice iconic.
Hollywood heavyweights causing controversy for licensing their voices to artificial intelligence. Plus, testing allegiance. Winnipeg hosts the Rough Riders and the Alouettes as the Grey Cup kicks off. Good evening and thank you for joining us. We are now just hours away from a major vote in Parliament. On Monday, MPs will decide whether to approve Prime Minister Mark Carney's first budget or topple the minority government and send this country to an election. The Liberals need just a handful of votes from the opposition, but so far there's no clear indication if any of the other party members will support it. Mackenzie Gray reports on the high-stakes budget standoff.
Tonight, an extraordinary clash of political brinkmanship, international turmoil, and unexpected cultural battles is unfolding on both sides of the Atlantic. As Westminster watches closely, Canada is standing on the edge of a political cliff. Washington is bracing for a bruising vote tied to one of the most toxic scandals in modern U.S. history, and elsewhere from Mexico to Venezuela, tensions are rising as protests, investigations, and geopolitical warnings intensify. All while, in the world of sport and entertainment, fans and performers alike are confronting the strange new realities of artificial intelligence, identity, and the future of creativity. This is a night where politics, pressure, power, and public emotion collide, and the consequences could be felt far beyond national borders. In Ottawa, Canada's Liberal government is careening toward a knife-edge parliamentary showdown that could collapse the entire administration in a matter of hours. Prime Minister Mark Carney spent what may have been his final relaxed evening for quite some time before MPs returned to Parliament on Monday for a budget vote that some in his own party describe as a coin flip. The Liberals hold 169 seats, just shy of a majority, while opposition parties collectively command 173. Carney's survival depends on persuading at least two opposition MPs to support the budget, bringing the chamber to a 171 to 171 dead heat. In that scenario, parliamentary tradition dictates the Speaker breaks the tie in favor of the sitting government, keeping the status quo intact. The NDP has remained coy, refusing to publicly confirm whether they'll support the budget, but they're widely viewed as the likeliest partners. The Liberals have ensured this financial plan is peppered with NDP-friendly spending commitments, money for wildfire response, community funding, and in particular a federally backed Filipino community center in Vancouver. Something interim NDP leader Don Davies openly celebrated, calling it a much-needed asset his party has long pushed for. But the Bloc Québécois remains unmoved. Their demands were not met, their leader saying unequivocally that they cannot support the budget. Green Party leader Elizabeth May has voiced strong reservations as well, though she continues to negotiate for amendments that might soften her stance. Yet even with May on side, her single vote won't tip the balance. That leaves the Conservative Party, who could, whether intentionally or not, decide the government's fate. Pierre Poilievre's Conservatives insist they are united in opposing what they've branded the costly Carney credit card budget. But their unity hasn't translated to perfect attendance. Four Conservative MPs failed to vote on key budget amendments last week, and if even four opposition MPs abstain or fail to log in on Monday, the government could scrape through on another tie, with the Speaker again poised to save Carney's team. With electronic voting now commonplace, though reportedly temperamental, the NDP has confirmed that some of its MPs will be casting votes remotely. That raises the possibility of technical glitches, mistaken abstentions or missed votes, an accidental triggering of an election, something Canada has seen before, most infamously in 1979 when Joe Clark's minority government collapsed on its first budget, clearing the way for Pierre Trudeau's return with a resounding majority. The big question facing Canada tonight is whether this is political chicken or genuine readiness for another round at the polls only 6 months after the last national vote. Analysts say opposition parties might actually want an election. Conservatives see an opportunity to shift the campaign debate away from former President Trump, who dominated discussion in April, and toward bread-and-butter domestic issues like crime and immigration, territory where they feel strongest. The NDP, now reduced to just 7 seats, may believe they have little left to lose and a chance to regain party status, and the millions in funding that come with it. The Bloc Québécois might benefit from going early as well, avoiding a federal campaign overlapping with Quebec's provincial election next year. And even the Liberals could be tempted. A struggling, financially weak NDP and Conservative caucus divisions might offer Mark Carney his best opportunity to secure the majority he's desperate for. But the risks are enormous. If Poilievre loses, his leadership is likely over. The NDP is financially crippled with an $8 million debt. The Liberals risk backlash in Quebec and could lose ground there. And Carney himself could be blamed for plunging the country into an early election and be removed. So Canada stands at a political crossroads. Monday's vote may deliver stability, or send the country hurtling toward a Christmas election few citizens say they want. Across the border in the United States, President Donald Trump faces fresh turbulence as lawmakers prepare to vote on whether to release all files linked to the late Jeffrey Epstein. Last week, a congressional committee published thousands of Epstein's emails, including one suggesting Trump was aware of the abuse of underage girls. Trump has dismissed the material as a hoax, but the revelations have split conservative ranks. In a dramatic escalation, Trump has withdrawn his endorsement of Republican firebrand Marjorie Taylor Greene after she publicly backed making the files public, branding her Wacky Marjorie and a traitor. Greene says Trump's attacks endanger her safety. Despite his attempts to downplay the scandal, a House vote is imminent. But complications loom. A separate investigation is examining Epstein's alleged ties to major banks and high-profile figures, including the Clintons, though federal memos this year stated there is no definitive client list. Survivors of Epstein's crimes say they feel stronger and more determined than ever, insisting transparency must prevail regardless of political pressure. Even if the House approves releasing the files, the Senate may not follow, and the president's signature is far from guaranteed. Further south, President Nicolas Maduro of Venezuela has delivered a rare address in English, appealing directly to the American public as U.S. military drills take place in neighboring Trinidad and Tobago. With heightened naval activity in the Caribbean, Maduro warned that Washington risks igniting war. In a surreal moment, he and his supporters broke into a rendition of John Lennon's Imagine, urging peace while denouncing U.S. intervention. The Trump administration continues to accuse Venezuela of fueling the influx of illegal drugs into the United States, intensifying fears of confrontation. In Mexico City, anger and grief have erupted into nationwide protests led largely by Gen Z activists demanding justice, safety and an end to entrenched corruption. Tensions escalated following the assassination of Carlos Manzo, an independent mayor who had been a vocal critic of organized crime and had pleaded repeatedly for state protection. Carrying placards bearing his image, demonstrators marched towards the National Palace. Violence broke out when protesters attempted to tear down security barriers, prompting riot police to deploy tear gas. President Claudia Sheinbaum condemned the violence and accused right-wing groups of funding the unrest. She maintained strong approval ratings, above 70%, but critics argue community safety still lags behind promises. Back in the United States, federal immigration raids are now sweeping through Charlotte, North Carolina, part of a broader crackdown targeting undocumented offenders in major Democrat-run cities. Local leaders accuse federal agents of creating fear and uncertainty in immigrant communities, insisting the strategy does more harm than good. Across the Atlantic, the British government has unveiled a major overhaul of asylum rules. Refugee status will now be temporary, with claimants reassessed every 2.5 years, and the path to permanent residency extended to up to 20 years. If conditions in a refugee's home country improve, they will be sent back. Ministers say this marks a fundamental shift in long-standing principles of sanctuary, while critics warn it risks destabilizing vulnerable individuals and families. The move comes as the Reform UK party gains momentum, pressuring ministers to appear tougher on immigration. In Nova Scotia, a volunteer group from Ontario has joined the search for Lily and Jack Sullivan, aged 6 and 4, who vanished in May. The group discovered several items, including a child's T-shirt and tricycle, but police have confirmed none are connected to the missing siblings. The search is expected to continue through the week. Tragedy has struck a beach in California where a father from Calgary drowned trying to rescue his 5-year-old daughter after a powerful 6-meter wave swept her out to sea. His body was recovered, but the little girl remains missing. The child's mother managed to reach shore but is being treated for hypothermia. Southern California has been battered by another atmospheric river, leaving behind flash flooding, mudslides and multiple fatalities, including 4 migrants believed to have drowned when their small boat overturned. In British Columbia, communities are still grappling with the aftermath of catastrophic flooding 4 years ago. Families from the Shaken Indian Band remain displaced after their homes were cut off by washed-out roads and destroyed bridges. Despite federal funding of nearly $23 million for repairs and long-term planning, some residents say they feel forgotten as they wait for new land and safer housing. A growing cultural debate is gripping Hollywood following the rise of AI-generated content. Two iconic actors, Michael Caine and Matthew McConaughey, have licensed their voices to an AI firm now valued at more than £5 billion. The technology can reproduce their speech patterns in multiple languages, raising concerns among voice actors who fear being replaced. They argue that while celebrities collect lucrative fees for licensing their voices, everyday performers face dwindling job opportunities. Unions say safeguards are urgently needed to guarantee consent, control, and fair compensation. Meanwhile in Canada, football fans have flooded into Winnipeg for the nation's biggest sporting spectacle, the battle between the Saskatchewan Roughriders and the Montreal Alouettes. Despite being on the home turf of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, thousands of supporters from across the country have packed into the city, turning it into a carnival of color, rivalry, and celebration. Local businesses are reporting a significant economic boost, with the event expected to generate roughly £55 million. Fans say whatever the outcome, the gathering has brought the country together. And finally tonight, Canadians across the world are sending in photos of their national pride, from Stonehenge in England to rural India and classrooms in Tanzania.
The British government has just announced a sweeping overhaul of its asylum policies, making refugee status temporary and extending the wait time for permanent residency up to 20 years.
What the new reforms will do is change that generations-old assumption that sanctuary provided to refugees can very quickly lead to permanent settlement and all of the rights that go alongside that. We will be changing that to a more temporary process, and the situation will be assessed every 2.5 years.
If those assessments find that a refugee's home country is now safe, they would be sent back. The legal duty to provide housing and financial aid can also be scrapped. The Labour government is hardening its policies in response to the growing popularity of the anti-immigration Reform UK party. Tragedy strikes a beach in California. Coming up, the search for a Calgary girl swept out to sea and how her father tried to save her. Plus, 4 years since a devastating flood in BC, why some residents still can't return home. A volunteer search team from Ontario is scouring a wooded area in rural Nova Scotia this weekend, looking for any signs of two missing children. 6-year-old Lily Sullivan and her 4-year-old brother Jack went missing in Pictou County back in May. The volunteer group called Please Bring Me Home says it found a child's t-shirt, a blanket, and a tricycle, but police say those items are not connected to the children's disappearance. The group says it will continue searching this week. California police say a Calgary man has drowned trying to save his daughter, who remains missing. It happened at this beach on Friday. Police say the 39-year-old father entered the water after his 5-year-old was swept offshore by a 6-meter wave. The man's body was recovered, but the girl has not been found. The child's mother made it back to shore and is suffering from hypothermia. Southern California has been drenched by an atmospheric river. Fears of flash flooding and mudslides have prompted mandatory evacuation orders in the same communities that were hit by devastating wildfires earlier this year. One man died trying to cross a flooded road in his car, and it's believed 4 migrants from Mexico also died when their small boat overturned. It was 4 years ago this weekend that another atmospheric river drenched southwestern British Columbia, causing catastrophic flooding and landslides. Some communities still haven't recovered. Global's Travis Prasad reports on one First Nation where families are still living in limbo.
4 years ago, catastrophic flooding tore apart communities across southern BC. Among the worst damage, the washout of Highway 8 between Merritt and Spence's Bridge.
Here we go.
In the months following, crews rebuilt enough road for most residents to return, but not everyone.
When the floods came, we thought we were going to be home in about 2 days because we didn't pack anything.
While floodwaters have receded, the level of uncertainty remains high for some in the Shaken Indian Band. Former Chief Arnold Lampro's home and 9 others were cut off when a bridge washed away.
Our pump hoses are flooded. Roads flooded.
They believe they'll never return home. The area, previously destabilized by wildfires, is now considered too dangerous to live in.
The river has actually risen in height from the gravel, and in some places it's higher than the lower lying grounds.
Evacuees say securing new land and funding for housing requires action from the current chief and council, but they feel left behind.
The band is prioritizing other people who haven't been impacted by the floods. They're prioritizing cows and making sure that they are safe and comfortable and looked after, and we're left on the outskirts.
We asked Band Council for an update, but did not hear back in time for this report. Meanwhile, Indigenous Services Canada says it has provided over $22.9 million to support Shaken Indian Band with recovery efforts, including housing repairs, engineering assessments, mitigating further flood impacts, and continued recovery planning. Adding it continues to work with the First Nation to explore viable long-term housing options.
As true people of this land, we want a home too. We need to belong somewhere in our territory so we can conduct our ceremonies, grieve for our loved ones, and celebrate those who have not yet been born.
While many can look back on the floods as a tragic chapter, for these families, that chapter is still open, with no end in sight.
It's like we're forgotten.
Travis Prasad, Global News.
I've got a question for you.
Is that really actor Michael Caine or a digital fake? Still ahead, the debate over celebrities licensing their voices to AI companies. The rapid rise of artificial intelligence is sparking debate in Hollywood. Last week, an AI-generated country song topped the charts, and 2 movie stars have recently licensed their voices to an AI company. Taria Isri reports on the deal that's dividing show business.
I've got a question for you. What makes a voice iconic?
You likely know who's speaking.
My name is Michael Caine.
But do you know if it's really him? Legendary actor Michael Caine has licensed his unmistakable voice to New York-based AI company 11 Labs.
All right.
Another Hollywood star has also signed a deal with them.
A good man stands for certain ideals.
Matthew McConaughey is allowing the company to translate his newsletter in Spanish using his voice.
Hola. Feliz viernes a todos. Tengo un anuncio algo especial.
The actor is an investor in 11 Labs, which is valued at $6.6 billion. It has a catalog of voices from late and famous figures like Maya Angelou, John Wayne, and Judy Garland.
At that moment, Dorothy saw lying on the table.
The licensing deals are stirring up debate about the role of AI in entertainment.
This feels, for lack of a better word, icky.
Voice actors worry these celebrity partnerships could push them out of business.
It's a very privileged stance, and the vast majority of people who work in this business are not celebrities. They're not million-dollar makers.
The use of AI was one of the key sticking points in the Hollywood strike of 2023.
What we're perhaps seeing now is that unity to start to almost be breaking down.
Some men just want to watch the world burn.
The Canadian Association of Voice Actors says AI has its place in the arts, but it would like to see guardrails like consent, control, and compensation for everyone, not just those at the top.
Voice actors aren't being compensated fairly, and now celebrities are jumping in going, yay, I'm going to make a lot of money. So it doesn't seem fair.
We are weaned from our timidity.
A conversation growing louder about who gets the biggest say when it comes to AI and entertainment. Taria Isri, Global News, Montreal.
Grey Cup allegiances up next. Fans of the Rough Riders and Alouettes descend on Blue Bombers territory. Welcome back. It's the biggest day in Canadian football. The Saskatchewan Roughriders are playing the Montreal Alouettes for the rights to hoist the Grey Cup. The game is happening in Winnipeg, where thousands of fans from across the country have gathered and are hoisting cups of a different kind. Our Melissa Ridgen is crashing that party for us tonight. Melissa.
Jeff, anywhere that you've got food and beer, there's a good chance that you'll find football fans. Some got here not long after the sun came up, and they've been gearing up all day for the big game. Not surprising, there's a lot of green to be seen as Saskatchewan fans eagerly made the trip to Winnipeg to watch their team in the Grey Cup finals in Blue Bombers territory.
We're going to paint this town green! Raiders!
At the end of the game, after we win the Grey Cup, I would put a sign in there and say, "Look, Bombers, this is how it's done."
Alouettes fans made the trip too in smaller numbers, but finding big support.
They like Montreal, they want us to win because they don't like Saskatchewan.
Winnipeg Blue Bombers President Wade Miller tells us 75% of those in the sold-out Princess Auto Stadium are Bomber fans. Some of them all too happy to cheer on anyone but the Riders.
Montreal.
Montreal.
National party, we've seen some Ticats, we've seen some BC Lions, we've seen obviously some Regina people here. Even like we're with some people from Nova Scotia.
Yeah. Great weather, great friends. The country came together.
A fun fact for you, Jeff, this is the 15th straight sold-out game here, and at 32,343 capacity, this stadium amounts to the third biggest community in Manitoba. So regardless of who drinks from the Grey Cup tonight, Winnipeg as a host city is a big winner with an estimated $90 million in economic boost.
Melissa Ridgen in Winnipeg. Thanks, Melissa. And that is Global National for this Sunday night. I'm Jeff Semple. Your Canada is going global this week. We're showcasing your pictures of Canadian pride from all over the world. Tonight, we're showing Stonehenge in England, a home in Kodaikanal, India, and the Canadian flag presented to a school in Tabora, Tanzania. Thanks for watching. Donna will be back tomorrow. Have a great night.